Today is International Vegan You Day. Today is Craft Distillery Day. Today is National Vanilla Pudding Day. And it's also just a beautiful day in the neighborhood in Colorado. It's supposed to warm up today. Yay. But boy, was that all day long, that moisture. Oh, that was a godsend. Do we have any first-timers here today? Oh, we have one. We have one. Two. And our speaker, yes. Thank you so much for being, well, we're glad to have our speaker here today, of course, but thank you for coming here. And we just have a flower for you to let people know that you are new and to give you a warm Althea welcome, I hope. And so thank you so much for choosing to be here on this beautiful day. And you could be 1,000 other places, so thank you. Anything else? No, I don't think so. So let's do an opening prayer. And if you're comfortable, just close your eyes. And breathe. We'll start there. And as we breathe in, let us just hold that breath for a second and just expel that breath. And feet and shoulders just drop a notch or two or three. And let us center ourselves here. Here at Althea, where we gather on this day to be with like-minded folks. Where we gather today to regenerate, to refuel, to rekindle, to remember our holiness, our individual holiness, and the holiness of each other, and the holiness of everyone, the holiness of our planet, of all its flora and fauna. And there's life. You say it loud and proud. What a joy to remember, to be reminded of that exuberant joy of being alive. For as our prayer partner Suzanne said today in our meeting, all is God, all is Buddha, all is Allah, all is Yahweh, all is Great Spirit. No matter what we call it, there is that infinite power. The one mind, the great mind, whatever name we give it, Spirit. And it is everywhere, and therefore we are with it. We are of it. We are expressions of it. And so is everyone. When we recognize the holiness of each other, things, life, just start making more sense. And we are here to be of service to the world, to know that we bless every religion, we bless every person, we bless everyone. We know that there are stresses and strifes, and we hold the holiness for those in Ukraine and Russia, in wherever there is turmoil and strife. And we bless them with our love, and we send them good vibes. And that is more powerful than we may think or know. Holding the space for the holiness. And as we here in beautiful Denver, Colorado, let us express our gratitude, our gratefulness for this life that we possess, for this sanctuary that we have access to. Yes, amen. Let us give thanks for everyone who makes this center vibrant. Stay alive. And so let us bless our speaker today, Jenny. Let us bless our musical guest today, Dexter Payne. Let us bless our volunteers, Sarma. Let us bless Daryl, Jason, all of those who are working the front door. Such blessings. And let us just let it go. Let us just take another deep breath and let the day go and know that there is divine perfection right here. For this moment is what we have. And with joy and love, we say together, and so it is. Amen. Amen. All right. We have a reader here. Is Louis here? Louis Rios Perez. Luis. He will be reading our statement of being.
Hello, stand as we are able and join me in saying the statement of being. God is all, both invisible and visible, one presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. And we are the individualized expressions of God, and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
We have this beautiful altar in the front here that Barbara Bale so painstakingly sets up. Not painstakingly. Lovingly.
Lovingly.
Oh, she's in so much pain. She sets up that table. Put something on that you would like blessed or to be holy.
Thank you.
So thank you, Lord. And don't forget to remember to pick it back up. Next.
I would like to send this out to Michael's family. He's not feeling well today, so send your blessings to him.
invite you to close your eyes if you like and let this poem wash over. In a holy book I have by Hafiz. In a holy book I have, there are pages from the Bible and the Quran, and pages from the Sufis and from the Upanishads, the Torah and the Gita, and the pages of the wisdom of animals and their young singing while they play, the way we once did with the stars, and pages of plants, and pages of sounds, and pages of earths. Yes, it is all there in my soul. Anything ink has ever preserved, anything that stone ever begged to have carved on it, anything, any instrument gifted from its mind, or a brush left for us to see. Any space sanctified by dance, I know. And anything that will ever be written in your heart, you, the eyes or ears and cells that now hear this. In the holy book I have, in a sacred text I carry, is the face of everyone who will ever be.
Thank you, Barbara. Beautiful. Our guest speaker today is Jenny Medrano, Jenny, Jenny. Jenny. And she is an experienced coach, consultant, and facilitator within the arenas of lifestyle liberation and DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. She is a consultant, and she spent the last decade serving within various nonprofits, including Building Bridges. And within her time, she was able to jumpstart the adults training program that focused on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. She's a very spiritual person, and she's still exploring what that means, probably a lifetime task, and how that relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So please give a warm and Althea welcome to Jenny.
So I have to admit that it's been a while since I've been in a church-like setting. I know that some people don't refer to this as church. I have a knee-jerk reaction right now to say, peace be with you. And that is a lot of what I'm going to talk about today. My background in Catholicism. I set a timer because I'm pretty long-winded. I'm Mexican, which I'm also going to talk about, so I could talk for a long time. And I'm going to be sharing on the topic of unlearning toxic religious thinking, especially as it pertains to Christianity. So right from the get-go, I want to say that I do not believe that religion in itself is inherently bad. I don't think it's inherently toxic. I think it becomes toxic when it's used to exploit or even enslave people. And when it turns into a cycle for the individual of continuous legalism and shame. So I will be talking about how religious thinking turned toxic in my own life. And I don't assume that this is the case for anybody else. I just hope that you can lean in and learn something and maybe relate to something. If you identify as spiritual or if you're unlearning some past religious thinking. To start, as I mentioned, I have moved from Catholicism to evangelicalism to spirituality in my lifetime. And this was the breakdown based on age. So I put here Jenny's belief identifiers. By the way, I tried to use like a fun, weird presentation because it's a very deep, heavy matter for me. So I was like, let me try to make it lighthearted. So I hope you enjoy this as well. From age 0 to 16, I was a Catholic. I was born into Catholicism from being a baby that was baptized in water, not knowing what was happening. And I didn't really love going to church. My parents are both Mexican American, and they were devout in the sense that we went every Sunday. We weren't just holiday goers. We also, each of us, me and my two sisters, we had Holy Communions and confirmations. I'm trying to remember the words. What are the words? We ate the wafer. We did the things. And we all did it all through the motions. And there was a part of me that really grew to resent church at a young age and to fear God. I was so internalized with the belief that sin is something I couldn't escape. And so that continued until the age of 14. At the age of 14, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And so she started to explore and ask a lot of questions about life and death. And she found that the priests of our Catholic Church that we had gone to for years and years could not answer her questions. So she started trying out Protestant churches. She brought us along. And I have to admit, the first time I went to a Christian or evangelical church, I felt so relieved because it felt like a vacation compared to the Catholic church that I was in. Mind you, I was 14, right? So I was used to just stand up, sit down, kneel, all the things. We get to this mini mega church, and the first thought I have is, this is like a mall. This is fun. This doesn't feel like hard. And I noticed right away, as the pastor was sharing, I understood what he was saying. It didn't feel like there was a code. So I started understanding what I saw the crosses in the Catholic Church, what those actually meant. I understood that Jesus died for my sins, and I started to believe it wholeheartedly. At the age of 16, my mom passed away. And it was my first major trauma, my first major death. And I clung to Christianity. I got baptized again at the age of 16, and I started having this, I'm forgetting the words, but a conversion experience, an experience of rebirth, and I was as Christian as they come, y'all. Like, I was in it. I was a youth leader, I was going to church regularly, I was participating in Bible studies, and I started eating up all of the practices because to me it felt like a saving grace. My mother was gone. I had no nurturing. And so I clung to God in a way that I never had as a Catholic. I felt so much peace from the Bible verses and the singing, and I was a worship leader. I loved worship, and I still do, because I felt that connection to God. At a certain point, however, I went to a Christian college, and I'm not going to say which one, it's a pretty famous one, and I became very disillusioned with Christianity. The more I learned about social justice, the more I learned about systemic racism, systemic oppression in general, homophobia, and how much that existed in Christianity and in the college that I was a part of, the more I became not in sync anymore with this religion. And I got very scared because that was all I knew. The biggest identity that I had at the time was being a Christian. So I moved to Denver in 2013 after I graduated from Wheaton College. And I was in a leadership program, a Christian leadership program, and it was very, very hard. It was a church in this area, and I was exploited hardcore for the sake of serving Jesus. I was paid probably $8 an hour in a ministry. Could barely pay rent, but the way that I could pay rent was because the church made it so that I relied on them to live in them. They were my only community. And we held each other accountable. We had confession times, and it became very toxic in that it was their way or the highway. A little cult-like as well. So at the age of 25, this is when things started to change, and I had what I call the dark night of the soul. I graduated this leadership program, and I was working for a youth organization. Will I say? Young Love. And I was very much a part of this organization, helping young people come to know Jesus. And we would take them to the summer camp every summer. So this year I was a director. I was feeling, high and mighty, and just like I could be a leader in Denver finally. And we took a group of probably 5 students to summer camp. And something very terrible happened. There was a tragic event in which one of the teens that I invited, a young man, died in an event where he fell in a building. Died on impact. And you can imagine having all of these teens. The boys that I happened to invite were young Latino men. And I had to tell this young man's family, a lot of them undocumented, Catholic, Spanish-speaking, that their son died at the summer camp. And it was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was one of the most unraveling experiences of my life. And I fell into a deep, deep depression. And I found myself, for the first time, I couldn't move into the extreme of Christianity like I did when my mom died. I couldn't comfort myself with the idea that he was in heaven, which is what I did with my mom. I felt instead totally disillusioned and totally lost. And I would go to my church leaders, I would go to people in the organization and try to explain this, and their response was, why are you still sad? He's in heaven now. This is actually a good thing. Look at how our community's coming together. And full disclosure, I started rippling, spiraling so bad. I'm going to be vulnerable with y'all. I remember one of the days going to this teen lunch session and having to do a Bible study because my job depended on it, drunk. That's how bad it was. And so I told my boss, I'm not okay. Anti-depression medication is not working, and I need a sabbatical. So I went to California and I dealt with the pain of losing someone. And not just this young man, but my mom as well, hadn't fully felt that pain. And what's happened is something I would have never anticipated. That was an awakening started to take place where I started expanding outside of my Christian thinking, questioning, why do we refer to God as a he? And the biggest thing that started all this was the thought that I want to view God as the divine rather than the Trinity of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I started experiencing freedom that I didn't have to only believe in Jesus as this male, but I could see God as this divine. So this led me to a moment in time where I put on the cloak of spirituality, I'm going to call it. It had been a couple of years. I wasn't going to church anymore. I wasn't reading the Bible. I wasn't praying as much. That was good for me because I needed some space. And I started reading this book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And then practicing presence. And I found this practice of presence to be so liberating that I could just be, and that's enough. That I could just be focused on the now, and that's enough. And so I started meeting spiritual people, as you do in this journey, just attracting these people who did Reiki, people who did tarot card readings, people who had all sorts of religious beliefs. And the more people I met, the more I was confirmed in that love exists everywhere, not just in Christianity. So I steadily built up the confidence to take off the identity of Christianity because I was scared. I knew I was going to lose people when I told them I wasn't a Christian. I knew there was going to be backlash, and I knew that I would lose my foundation that took me through my mom's death, but I was ready. So I told myself, okay, what if I just put on this cloak of spirituality for 1 week? And one week, I'm not going to be a Christian. No one's going to know because I have no friends at this point, let alone in Westminster. So who cares? And I'm just going to pretend like I'm not a Christian. Immediately, the next day, I felt this weight lifted from my shoulders, especially when it came to the concept of sin. I started asking these questions. In unlearning sin and shame, I started asking, without the belief in sin, wait, what is the need for guilt and shame? I would catch my thoughts and say, oh, I should probably do this instead. And be like, wait, why though? Why does every thought, belief, and action have to be measured based on how right or wrong it is, or if it could be better, if I'm not believing in sin for this week? And that started unraveling. It started freeing my mind. I started feeling just so much lighter and able to love myself in my mistakes. Another question that I wrestled with is, why is it so important to be modest and humble? The more that I leaned into spirituality, even past that week, the more I started realizing how many times as a Christian I was told, you're amazing, you have so much potential, you're a great speaker, but just make sure you're humble. Especially as a woman, especially as a woman of color. Make sure that as a humble and modest, don't be too beautiful, don't be too sexy, don't be too any of that because you don't want to bring attention to yourself. And I started questioning that. What was the role of modesty and humility for real? With that, I asked the question, what is so wrong about sexuality, sexual expression, or sex in general? I don't know about you, but for me, the concept of sin became so enwrapped and entangled with the concept of sex growing up, that when sin was mentioned in church, I felt the connotation of sexual anything. And so learning and unlearning sin and shame and giving myself freedom to think about it, I started thinking, well, what have I been taught about this purity culture? Is that actually serving me? What do I believe? What would actually serve me? Next came unlearning dualistic thinking. There was so much black and white thinking. There was so much either or thinking. I had the belief that either God exists or he doesn't. Because that's what I was told in the Christian church, that if you don't believe in the Christian God, then you don't actually believe in the God. I just heard a friend the other day, she got in a debate, a friend from this leadership program, and she was yelling at these people of different religions saying, your God is dead and my God is not. My God is alive. That is what I had so ingrained inside of me. So I had to unlearn that. I had to be like, okay, let's give this a chance. Let's give this spirituality a chance. What if the Christian God I know isn't the only God? What if there are other paths and forms of God? Then came, this is either the capital T truth, or it's not truthful at all. I started questioning the concept of truth, because I was told that unless it was a capital T truth, which often was from the Bible directly, or theology directly, then it wasn't truth at all. And as I gave myself freedom to explore multiple truths, I started learning from all types of guides, all types of people who have spiritual beliefs, and feeling like there was more aspects of myself that I could understand, aspects of God that I could understand. The last thing that kind of started unraveling was I have to choose path A of action or path B. There is no between or gray area. As a Christian, I found myself always asking, is this my purpose? Am I following my calling? What if I get it wrong? What if I don't have my right calling? And as I started moving into spirituality, I started undoing this toxic thinking and realizing, oh, my career is a series of steps. If you saw my resume, you'd be like, what in the world is this woman doing? But right now, I'm owning my own business and I'm thriving. And that was from a series of experimentation. and steps and allowing myself to, there's not one calling. In addition, relationships, the idea that there's one soulmate, one person you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with, one person that's going to complete you. In challenging that, I found freedom, that love could be in multiple forms throughout my life, and it doesn't have to be just one husband, just one partner. It could be multiple loves, platonic and romantic. This leads me to connecting the dots with my background in doing training, which is teaching about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So in unlearning toxic religious thinking, I found myself unlearning white supremacy culture. White supremacy culture, I'll say this, no culture in and of itself is damaging or wrong. There's so many different cultures. But when one culture is heralded as the only way to do things and given the power as you either do this or you get punished for it, that's when it becomes supremacist. So there are different facets of culture. A couple of them that relate to my story are either or thinking, worship of the written word, power hoarding, and only one right way. So starting with either or thinking, I mean, that is demonstrated in the dualism that I was caught in. So I started challenging and unlearning. It doesn't have to be either or. What's the gray area? What's the between? In worship of the written word, I see this, I have taught this in the professional context, that we have to unlearn the idea that unless it's written, it's invalid. There is so much power in what's unwritten. There is so much power in oral tradition. There is so much power in our intuition and what Spirit has to say to us. So I started unlearning the fact that if I didn't read it in a sacred text, then maybe it doesn't hold value. Started reversing that. Power hoarding is another thing. The fact that I'm here on this stage feels weird to me. Do you know in the decade of leading in Christian context, not once was I ever invited to speak. And I was a leader in the church. I think I'm a pretty good speaker. So that's interesting to me. Why is that? Because power was held, especially among white, cisgender, heterosexual men. Every church I was in. And that power was kept for people like me. I was tokenized in the way of, oh, Jenny, speak into this conversation. Give us the go-ahead for these decisions, but I would never be in a situation where I had a lot of power. So I started pushing back on that, sharing more about my spiritual beliefs. If you're on TikTok, I share a lot there. And I just started owning that I don't have to have a degree. Because I started getting insecure, like, I don't think I've meditated enough. I don't know where I fall in the spiritual category. Who am I to speak on this? Pushing back on that. I believe that each of us have a truth and expression that needs to be shared with the world. Last thing, only one right way. So the belief that, as I've mentioned before, something has to be one course of action for it to be true or right. I don't just want to talk about unlearning. To wrap up, I want to talk about what I'm currently learning. Healthy spirituality, healthy religious thinking, I believe, is centered on radical self-love, radical self-acceptance, radical self-empowerment. I was taught in the Christian church that to be good is to be selfless, completely. Sacrifice yourself at all measures. Give freely all the time. If you charge too much, you're selfish. If you ask for too much, you're selfish. If you take up too much space, you're selfish. So I've been unlearning that. Because I realized in those days of my life, I didn't really know what love was. Now, in learning love for myself, speaking to myself, radically accepting myself, which I mean not just the light parts, but the shadow aspects of yourself, accepting that I'm stubborn, accepting that I don't take criticism well, accepting that I procrastinate a lot, accepting that I can be accepting that I ghost people sometimes, and that's not the right way of action. Accepting all those things has made me love myself and has led to greater unconditional love, acceptance, and empowerment for the collective. I have never felt as loved as I do now. I have never had such a strong community and relationships and friends and opportunities as I do now. I don't think it's a coincidence that the minute I started radically loving myself, empowering myself, accepting myself, I received it. So I urge you all to pursue your own liberation in challenging what may be toxic religious thinking in yourself. Or even if you don't come from a religious context, you don't come from religion, what is white supremacist thinking that might have snuck into your mind, given that we live in the US and we're breathing this air and we're drinking this water, white supremacy, patriarchy, sexism, all the things. Thank you. I hope you had fun. Thank you so much. If you'd like to follow me further or reach out to me for liberation coaching, consulting, speaking, you can follow me at jennymadranocoaching.com. I'm also on Jenny Madrano Coaching on everything, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and I'm saying whatever the F I want on there. So it's the filtered version. Thanks again.
Oh, thank you so much. And, wow, I'd like to have you come back. Thank you so much. Very inspiring and entertaining. And we're so grateful for you and your message, and now is the time to open up our pocketbooks and share that gratitude with our community. So ushers, if you have your baskets, if you want to start passing those around. And there are other ways to contribute. We have our website, altheacenter.org. We have the dip jar in the back, in which you may dip your credit cards, change the donation from $10 to $500, just saying, you have that option. And you can also be a monthly supporter and evergreen supporter if you so choose to do that way. And we finish that, and we'll give a blessing for the offering, and then we will wrap up with another song and some announcements. And don't forget, we are now doing once again lunch today. After the service, we will have a wonderful lunch which you can participate in. It was supposed to be Pizza Sunday, but I think it's a greater variety today. There will be some pizza. So, soups and salads, yes. Barbara?
Is Jenny doing a deep dive?
Yes, she will be doing the deep dive, and that usually starts around 12:10, 12:15. So if you are interested in learning more, please show up. So ushers, are you ready? All right, so if we just close our eyes and just think about everything that we are grateful for. Just think about 1, 2, 3, 1,000 things that we can be thankful for. And we know that you share from the heart, you give from the heart, and we know that the gifts that Althea, that this community receives, goes back into the community and back into the world 1,000-fold. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. All right, we have once again a wonderful entertainment from Dexter King. Thank you, Dexter. Now is the time for our community prayers of the people. And one of our ushers, if we have, or both of our ushers, if you have microphones. And this is where we invite you all to share either a challenge that you're experiencing, a blessing that you would like to share, to have it go out into the community, and to let you know also, if it's possible, I take these, write them up, and they go out once a week to about 40 prayer partners. So there's a lot of power that can be generated from affirmative prayer. So if you have something that you would like to share, or a challenge, open yourself up if you feel comfortable. Anyone? I'll hold it closer.
I feel challenged by its work.
Oh, that's on. There should be a green light. That's all.
There we go.
There we go.
I'm challenged by technology.
Mercury's in retrograde.
I'm challenged by the violence in Ukraine and Russia. I'm equally challenged by white supremacy and violence in Buffalo. I'm challenged by this Supreme Court decision that's passed. We just find a way to get beyond all of this.
Repeat that last part.
Maybe we please find a way that we can all contribute and get beyond all of this.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Christopher Martinez, and I do have a challenge in Pueblo to conquer, and that's to give up alcohol. Because it is affecting my life, and it is going to be a challenge. But this is such a beautiful church, it's so sweet. I like that, because like Mrs. Overgard, I was brought up a Catholic. But she said the up and down and all across it. I questioned the priest one time and told him that the Ten Commandments, we're not supposed to offer false gods. Why do we have so many saints and everything? Have to be in church every Sunday? I just hope that challenge I can conquer. And another thing, in a dark time, I met a very good friend. And he said that you help me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to speak to Jenny's message to us in that I think the idea that traditional Christianity is holding us back from realizing the ideas we have about peace and our own spiritual growth are really paramount. And for her to empower us with her example of standing up and speaking out to that power, I believe that's really people who have reached the consciousness of recognizing that it is upon us to do that. And she is an example for that. So I hope we take that example and go out and are able to stand up to those institutions, those forces that are holding white supremacy, exclusivity, judgment, sexism, holding that all in place. And Jenny, kudos to you. Great message.
Oh, over here.
Thank you guys so much. I'm challenged by the murders of environmental activists in South America and the scariness of the cartel and the people who have lots of money that are being paid and things being covered up. It's very terrifying. I'm terrified of death cults of the fossil fuel system because fossils are dead things stacked up over time for thousands and thousands of years. And when you pump those things up into the air, it's like an automatic ceremony of bringing death upon the world. And I feel like people know that because drones can be modified to clean the CO2 from the skies. We could have technologies capturing the CO2, but we don't invest in these technologies for a reason. And there's also the understanding of the forest fires coming and all these climate disasters. And, you know, we could be doing so much more.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amen to that. Anyone else? All right. Thank you so much for all of your thoughts and prayers. Jenny, G-I-N-N-Y.
Thank you, Rick. Good morning, everyone. I am Ginny. And thank you for braving the branches to get here. I don't know how many of y'all had to step over, but a lot of branches after a couple days ago. So I'm here to tell you about what's coming up, to do some announcements about things that are happening. First of all, today, please join us, like Rick said, for lunch. If you can't stay for lunch, have some coffee with us. We would love to have you. And if you're new, if it's your first time, it's free. So be sure to stick around for that. We do have prayer partners afterwards. Who is doing prayer partners today?
I am.
Rick is. So what that is, if you would like to have a special session to meet with someone, Rick, and talk about anything that came up for you today, or something that you are struggling with, that's what he's there for, is to walk you through an affirmative prayer process. So you are welcome to do that right after the service in the historic library. So we would love to have you there. What's coming up? Today, who has ever been to a gong bath? Ooh. Well, if you haven't, you can today. At 12:30 will be Ray and Wilkinson and his gong bath. He literally has gongs up on the stage. People lie down on yoga mats, they sit, and he does for an hour plus just the sound of gongs, and it is amazing. So that's going to be happening today. There is a fee for that, so we can talk to you afterwards about that. We also have coming up on June 12th at the First Baptist Church, the Sage Singers, who are our dear friends. Where's Daryl? Is Daryl around? There he is. Daryl, who is part of Althea, but also part of Sage Singers, as are several of our members. They're going to do a performance at the First Baptist Church at 14th and Grant at 3 on Sunday, June 12th. So come here and then go there.
Actually, we're going to be here on the 5th of June.
Oh, okay. So you're going to be with us on the 5th of June, and then this is going to happen on the 12th. Are you our musical guest on the 5th of June?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
perfect. So the music you're going to hear will be the Sage Singers. They are amazing. Let's see. One of our cooks today, Matthew, he's a man of many talents, and he also does yoga. So he will be teaching yoga classes. This is all in our program, by the way. But we do want to point that out.
Sundays at 2.
Say that again?
Sundays at 2.
Sundays at 2. So today at 2. So you can eat, you can get bathed by a gong, and then you can do some yoga. And you will be unstoppable for this whole week coming up, I guarantee. We were going to do a spring clean and garden day. It got postponed. So that is something, and we don't know yet what it's going to be postponed until. But we would love to have your help in doing spring cleaning. I have cleaned up in those cool seats up in the balconies in years past, and it's pretty fun, believe it or not. And then we also need gardeners. So stay tuned. We'll get you a new date for that. Let me see if there is anything else. Anyone else have an announcement of anything coming up? The deep dive today. What that is, if you're not familiar, is we'd like to have it's usually a smaller group, sits in a circle, and gets to meet with our speaker and dive much more deeply into the topic. It is a wonderful way to meet more of the community, to meet our speaker, and to, as I say, go deeper into that subject. That will happen. There's time to eat and have coffee, and there's time to do that too. So plenty of time. Anything else? I don't want to leave anybody out. Anybody out?
Where is it held?
What now?
Where is the deep dive held?
It's in the historic library.
I think
right?
Darwinston.
Or it's in Darwinston. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Darwinston is right over there. It's a more intimate space. That's true. So we will direct you wherever you need to be. Anything else? That's the end. Okay, Rick, are you coming back up? No. Now we're on the stage. Okay.
Morning. So when Sarma asks me to say a prayer, I take it. It's a deal. And I sat down 3 different times to write down the most amazing prayer. And then nothing, it just wasn't coming, which is unusual. I was like, okay, I'll just wait till Sunday morning, we'll see what happens. And so this morning I waited for my divine inspiration, and my divine inspiration said, check out what Hafiz has to say. It wasn't even from me. But you know what? It's perfect. And it's like, goes with your work amazing. Okay, so this is the message from Hafiz on God is love. I have learned so much from God that I no longer call myself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Jew. The truth has shared so much of itself with me that I no longer can call myself a man, a woman, an angel, or even a pure soul. Love has befriended me so completely, it has turned to ash and freed me of every concept and image of my mind has ever known.
It's really a pleasure to be here. I have played Christmas at Althea probably, well, since the days of Carl and Jane Cobb. And this is really a special place, and I love the people that come here. It says in the program I have a community song, I don't. I have a community dance.
Oh.
So do what you want.